I'm Dude. I'm joined by M2K today, and recently we got a new Marble It Up World Record Rampage, and really excited to watch that and compare it to what we had from World Record Rampage 1 in the past. Why don't you say hi, M2K, and we'll get started.
What's up? I am M2K, and I'm proud to present sort of the rampage and everything that went into it behind the scenes of what's been going on, Marble It Up for the past 4 years.
Yes, M2K was the editor of this video and also appears in it as a runner in a few places.
Not 100%.
Not
There's
100%.
another
Yes, we had, I believe it was Berserk as well, who had some as well. But just give you a preview of what that video looks like. We're going to watch this intro. I mean, just look how cool this looks. And if you want the full audio-visual experience of the World Record Rampage 2, go watch that video. It's on the Marble Up official channel, which is really, really cool. And lots of really great editing, music. It's a great experience.
Yeah, definitely go watch that. It's a must-watch.
Did you have fun editing this?
Yeah, it was fun to get a little creative with the name reveals and stuff. It was definitely, I wasn't going off of anything for this. This is all just sort of as I went. Just figured where I'd put the names,
Yeah.
what I'd record.
Cool. Oh yeah, so that was the intro. That's your teaser for the actual video. We're gonna compare this to World Record Rampage 1, which was kind of a big deal when it came out. Yeah, a little context. This kind of was sort of thrown together when it was announced that the challenge update was going to be changing one of the major mechanics of the game, and you can see that here in Learning to Roll. If we play this is from World Record Rampage 1. You can see at the bottom of the screen right now, there's, and I'll have to go back and do that again, there's a start pad that Skullfire is going to bounce off of to gain a little bit of speed. And this was a mechanic that the Marble It Up developers didn't really like a whole lot. And so they ended up removing it during the challenge update, the whole start pad. And I believe, M2K, this was before your time.
Far before my time, yeah.
Far before your time. You came in quite a bit later. But
2021.
Yeah, so there was a normal start pad that we did, and then there was a more advanced start pad called a Kali tweak, where you actually had to hold backwards first and then hold forward, so that you could start holding forward sooner. And it was so annoying and difficult. But with the challenge update, they added some basically a speed boost at the start, and we're gonna see that here in Boomer's run here on Learning to Roll.
Hey, where'd the start pad go?
There's no start pad, yes, but he does get a little bit of a speed boost, and that combined with a difference in the routing here means that it does end up being just a little bit more than half a second faster. And for
yeah, it's a general theme among a lot of levels later on. They're all gonna have a little bit of a time cut wherever.
Yeah,
from just not having the start pad.
Every level's improved, and yeah, I'd say on average maybe a little bit less than half a second. With I think the largest gap just from start pad being on maybe Big Easy, which has even then less than 0.7. So it's not a huge bonus. I'd say it adds up to about 20 seconds of time save over the course of the first 5 chapters. And you know, as you'll see, 20 seconds is actually not that much compared to how much time was saved overall. But let's keep it moving. Learn to turn. What's going on here, M2K?
Well, it looks like there's a bit of a start pad tweak and then a turn from Jay Rooney here.
Yeah.
I'm not too knowledgeable about what's going on with the start pad mechanics, but I think with the second rampage, it's more of a straight line here from not having the start pad. So.
Yeah,
we don't that
doesn't curve quite as much to the left, but most of the time that being saved here, and the difference is, yeah, just that
bit of an edge hit in there too.
Yeah, keep going. Learning to jump. This one actually had a really substantial improvement. Thanks
this
to.
One's cool to watch.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Man, sometimes it's hard to believe like how it used to be done. because that's something really similar to what you'd see in
And
RTA these
yeah, and
days.
before you play this one, think about it. One edge hit was so cool for the time, and it was just so ahead of its time.
It was a good
Now watch
run.
this run.
Yeah, like this is on a whole different level, and this is M2K.
Couple edge brushes, edge hit
Yeah,
again, and then like an inverted edge hit.
so cool.
Look at
Yeah,
the time save. It's
uh,
ridiculous.
yeah, just ridiculous amount of time save for such a simple level. Yeah, Jay Roney being the first one to land that in real time.
And I think you found it, right?
Yes, I did find the route, but I wasn't the first one to try it. I was just the first person to successfully task it, I think. Yeah, fairly simple. We're not going to see a whole lot of differences in some of these, especially in some of these early levels. But even so, Boomer able to save 0.855 seconds on this level. And you'll notice he was. We actually have to go back and feature this for a second. The replay doesn't even notice that he picked up the gem because he just barely got it. That's so funny. That's so cool. But a lot of the time save on this particular level comes down to analog turning, because that wasn't known about back in first World Record Rampage. Can you tell us a little bit about what analog turning is, as we'll keep going?
So analog turning is a bit of a more like advanced mechanic, where you give the input and angle. On stock KBMs to be 45 would be pressing like either WD, WA, or any other combination of two WASD keys, and you give the camera an angle, you can actually get a boost over the traditional like rolling speed. So you accelerate much faster, and it allows you to build more speed for tricks that you'll see more often throughout this second rampage.
Yeah, almost any time when you see the runners rolling in the second rampage, they're going to be turning and using analog turning there.
And one thing that you don't see in the second rampage is the camera angles that some of these tricks require. The way it was filmed, we did more like looking straight forward, so you won't notice the actual angles. They're a little different from this.
They can be hard to recreate, and just to make it easier to watch and easier to understand what's going on, we're showing that. There's M2K doing a slightly different route there, where we actually bounce off the trim.
It's a little flashy.
Yeah. I'd imagine full speed ahead is not a whole lot different.
Yeah, no.
But I still do find it really fascinating to see these old runs. Like how much of an improvement can you really get from that? Like just from the start pad plus 0.630. So obviously the start pad being a part of that, but definitely execution being a big part of that as well. High ranges.
Particular level seems to be a bit of a speed dependent level, so being able to get that bounce start, taking out the start pad is very crucial. That's why you see more of a time save there.
Yeah, this one's going to be really different between the two rampages. Actually, it almost looked like he didn't even do a start pad. Oh, look at this. This rampage, he didn't even bounce off the start pad for this. This is just a jump
is that
start.
a buffer?
No, that's just a jump start, which was very, very rare to see in a world record run. I guess maybe the jump spacing he was looking for were different. Yeah, but a totally different, like, that's something we might do in RTA these days. Whereas this one just about never gets done in RTA except at the highest level of Chapter 1 RTA speedruns. And Boomer just running away with so many records in this rampage.
Oh, yeah.
Totally different. Coming up to the end of Chapter 1, Onward and Upward. It says Space Kitty. That is the person we would currently be referring to as Spakai. So when we get Spakai doing this, it's going to be basically the same route. I don't think the start pad makes really much of a difference here between Rampage 1 and Rampage 2.
This is more of a on the technical side of levels, so you don't see any big skips here. But when we watch the second rampage, you'll notice there's a big time gap because there's a lot of more optimized movement being used here.
Yeah, especially that analog turning. This is one of those levels that really is able to take advantage of it in a lot of places, even when you can't. It doesn't look like he's turning for very long.
Yeah, from what I heard from him, he had to hold some really weird angles to get all this to work on a keyboard and mouse. So
yeah, and just
Yeah, it's just
accelerating through
definitely
those turns in a way that we didn't know how to do before the Rampage
yeah.
one for sure. And in fairness
7
to
seconds.
yeah,
Sorry.
huge difference for that. Yeah, there was another jump start actually. So maybe it was more common than I remembered. Duality route going to be relatively the same, but so very cool to see how that used to be done. I've watched it before, of course, more than once, but I really like getting that piece of history.
Oh yeah.
So what's going on here?
Looks
Basically,
like we got a bit of a wait at the start for that one.
yeah, the jump spacing is different. So I think maybe part of the advantage here and the time save is going to be because of the jump spacing, they weren't even able to do Cali tweak in the old Rampage for that. Transit. Oh man,
We
I
got
want to see.
hatchets.
Okay, so in a prior patch before this was even released, there was actually a trap launch here, which ended up getting removed before the Rampage, and so it wasn't valid anymore. But yeah, hatches run 20.95 is what we get, and here this is over a second faster, despite the start pad being almost negligible in terms of the amount of time it might save, and having pretty much the same route. So that's a huge difference in execution.
Yeah, it's not really so much the start pad. There's a lot of these buffers in here are all pretty much frame perfect too. So
yeah,
super optimized.
All right, see. Oh, great wall. This one is going to be pretty similar as well. Okay. Yeah, so what's different here is that Space Kitty's going to be jumping to the right side after collecting this gem and bouncing off the wall. This is something I actually learned recently for RTA, and it's really, really fun. But in Rampage 2, our runner, who is Berserk, is going to do go to the left instead. Have you ever done this route?
Oh yeah, this is one of the most brutal in the game for sure.
It's so difficult because you got this sideways edge hit. This is like, it's like speedball, except you have to do it after another difficult section already.
Oh yeah, and look how much he's adjusting in the air to make that work.
Yeah, and just to not hit one of those battlements on the way over. Yeah, this is also going to be quite different. Or actually, it's not. Okay, this is a really cool. Okay, we're gonna have to show this.
Yeah,
it's actually really interesting how this is going to be going because it's going to look more similar than it was. Cobalt's doing a buffer jump here, and then a couple of hits off of bumpers in order to hit the goal. Okay, this is what we were doing for the longest time in individual levels. So Berserk's going to roll forward into the bumper and then bounce back. So it looks really different from Rampage 1. But it turns out what we ended up seeing in the new Rampage ended up looking more similar. Now, what the heck is going on here?
I honestly have no idea, but I'm pretty sure what he's doing here is he's holding back a little in the air and forcing, I think, a buffer, if I'm not mistaken, to barely hit the equator of his marble on that little edge sticking out under the bumper.
We got to look at this.
Clear.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, you almost have to look at this frame by frame because here he comes in, he lands on the edge.
Oh man.
Like literally on the edge to the point where
edge.
He's hitting the wall going up the edge and not the floor in order to just get enough height and speed.
Oh yeah,
in
that
order
looks like
to
a buffer
also hit here. And it doesn't even look like he's getting on top of this, but he does. Like he is marginally more than 50% up this so that he can do a delayed jump in midair.
That's a buffer too.
Yeah.
Look how close he gets to getting on this platform too.
And then rolls on smoothly like butter. This was one of the last.
That's barely possible.
One of the very last discoveries before the Rampage in terms of new routes. So cool that Elamith was able to find that and land it.
Oh yeah, one of my favorites for sure in this.
Garden Wall, I mean, there's good differences I'm realizing on almost all of these levels in terms of the route. Going to the left, this is what basically we were doing day one. And then, you know, the super speed to the goal. Great execution by Spakai back then. But then it was discovered, I'm not sure who discovered that going up the center was faster. Do you know who that was? By any chance?
Might have been Woody, as with everything, if I had to guess.
Woody's had come up with a lot of discoveries, yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty straightforward. You just get to the time travel as fast as you can.
Yeah. Wave Pool, another Spakai classic.
That's a fun route.
Grabbing the gem first before a time travel, and then a super jump to the goal.
Not the best camera angle, but
yeah. Well, like I said, this was, you know, Nakas did a good job of putting that all together. Actually, no. Looks like Boomer does go for the gem first. So this is basically the same route in the first half.
Then you deviate here.
Yeah, deviating here, able to make some turns that wouldn't be possible without analog turning, certainly. And, but yeah, the way that he's going to use the super speed here at the end, chef's kiss. No. So cool.
A clearance.
So cool. I believe that was a Mazic discovery, if I'm not wrong.
No, that was Dust Alarm.
Oh, you're so right. A Dust Alarm, man. Haven't heard much from him recently, but...
and he saw that in his dreams, right?
Right, he saw it in a dream. That's so... What a legend. What a legend. Okay, yeah, Big Easy. We're not going to watch all this one. It's a little long, but you saw there, start pad going off to the left, and then basically just straight to the goal at speed cap. But we'll watch the full World Record Rampage 2 version of this. Basically the same idea. How fast can you get to speed cap? How straight of a line? How little like up and down bouncing you can go? Because speed cap is like omnidirectional, right? Like the total amount of speed you can have is what it is, and if you're going up or down, that takes away from your horizontal momentum that you can carry while you're traveling at that top speed.
Mm-hmm. And what I was gonna add was just there were a lot more jumps in J-Roni's run than were really necessary. That also contributes to the extra time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, staying lower to the ground, that makes all the difference. So here we're seeing a Cali tweak, and then a little bit of a side angled edge hit, just barely making that. Compared to the new Rampage, and this one gets an earlier edge hit. And just a straighter line.
Yeah, for sure.
In addition to the speed boost at the start, but yeah, for the most part, some of these are gonna be similar, and some of them like that. This one didn't really do much of a start pad trick at all.
This is one of the more iconic runs, I feel like. Cali's shining moment in the first Rampage with his discovery on Triple Divine.
Yeah, and oh man, just look at this, like this cheeky little edge roll right here, landing on that edge in order to set up. Like that saves so little time. What he just did by landing on that edge, but he did it anyways and ended up getting a good time. Another thing you'll notice, I think, maybe in these older runs, is they aren't always aiming for the most optimal part, like of the goal hitbox. You can see we're going off to the right, and that ends up being a longer line than if he was going for the left corner of the goal hitbox.
Yeah, and with what he's saying with the corners, the goal hitbox is actually like a rectangular prism instead of a cylinder.
Which is what you'd assume, right? You'd assume it's a cylinder, but it's not.
Yeah, at first glance.
But yeah, really hard to get those to visualize all of those. But oh, that's such a cool pillar hit.
Was the bane of Boomer's existence.
The angle you need, yeah, the angle you need to hit that. And like you're gonna get a hard bounce, like a bonk on this almost every time that you attempt this. Unreal. Unreal.
So there's just hitting it and then hitting it. Like if you actually hit it, there's like 13 different angles you can get. You need to
Yep.
get the one angle.
Um
Maybe two, but you get a bad goal hit.
yeah. Yeah, it's so chaotic. Feels like anything can happen. This one's gonna be completely different. C Murder. C Murder was really tearing it up in the early days of Marvel It Up. I remember watching his streams of doing attempts for this, getting ready for World Record Rampage 1.
Big runner here.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. This was found by Marson, I believe. I love going back and seeing how these things were done. Brings back some good memories watching C Murder streams here.
It looks like that one had a cycle ending.
And then, of course, we've got M2K, and this ends up being 5 seconds faster, as you saw there on the left. Yeah, tell us a little bit about this route, I guess.
So this middle section deviation here is a bit different. This was found, it wasn't originally found by, but was first implemented by Kuji, who showed up in the community a bit recently. It's very hard. You barely clear, but yeah, it actually is faster to skip that time travel in the center, and we just didn't know that for the longest time.
Yeah, I mean, if it takes more than 4.5 seconds, then it's not worth it. That gravity was so smooth, dude. Like, how did you do this?
I could sit there and try to task that, and I wouldn't be able to. It's just one of those things that just lines up in a run.
It works or it doesn't, right? Like, you're not making any micro adjustments to make that happen. But yeah, as we saw there, 15.3 seconds saved just on Chapter 2. That's how much of an improvement we've had over the last few years.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Sugar Rush. I remember back when the world record for this level was similar to what we do in RTA now, but you grab a time travel and you turn around and you try to do the RTA skip going backwards, and that actually was faster than the fastest run that went all the way around for a while.
Yeah. What was the time on that?
I think it was like something like 11 seconds or something.
Oh wow.
Maybe closer to 12. It's hard to be sure. But yeah, I do remember for a while people weren't sure which way was faster.
Random B-roll. Just needed to make the song sync.
Yeah, one thing when you watch this through with the music on the original video, you'll notice that the music syncs up with some big moments when the marble when the player does a big skip or something like that. It's really cool. And again, if you haven't seen it yet, definitely recommend that you check that out. It's really cool. I was actually watching on loop the other day after it came out, just because I was enjoying the music and
it's awesome
and the feeling of everything. All right, elevator action, DK Man. This one is iconic. DK Man actually found the version of the route that he's doing right here, and the gem order getting all the way up here. But he found that day one, which is really cool. I did something similar before him, but I just did the completely wrong gem order, and I wasn't able to make it all the way up. But
I think at the time of that rampage, that edge hit on the elevator was one of the cooler things in the rampage.
Man, yeah, just like just right here, like a falling edge hit. Really cool. I mean, we've seen that in Marble Blast before, but honestly not that often. I think it's just a little bit more common these days everywhere. And yeah, for the fact that this video came out fairly soon after the game was released, and just a lot of these runs are super impressive, man.
Yeah.
Kugi's going so fast, he doesn't even have that elevator to work with. That's so cool.
I don't think this one's too much different.
No, I mean, it's really a difference of the catch timer, right? So how much of a time difference is it? It still ends up being 0.62. Okay, so basically that's the start pad difference plus like a very small amount of difference in terms of, yeah, like you save a little bit of time here, but the time that you save in that ending is only a tenth as valuable because of the fact that it's in time slow.
But you get to touch the slope and jump off faster. I think that also contributes.
Right, yeah, so it's more than the normal speed boost. Yeah, Katz is asking in chat, how do we pronounce the name Kugi or Kuji? Honestly, I'm not sure it's ever been clarified.
I've heard Kugi. I personally say Kuji, and everyone I've heard also says Kuji, except for a select few.
Oh, that was so smooth.
He'd have to answer that.
Yeah. Well, that absolute minimum height on that one. But what do we see? I'm assuming here we're going to see something more of a graze. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, running up against the moving platform and touching it on the way up. That's the optimization here. But
and
yeah,
if you watch some of those final buffers coming up from the platform up to the goal, they're all like the marbles are all touching the platform going up. It's so crazy if you just check that in the actual game.
There is no margin for error here if you want a world record. Like, you can't get any closer to the edge without hitting it. Yeah. Very cool. But, you know, that's one of those routes that's been around since the game was first discovered. The game first came out. And certainly it was intended as well. But, yeah. This one, honestly, I can't believe this one was landed before World Record Rampage 1. This
Very
is
iconic.
Such a difficult route. I've never come anywhere close to landing this. Just ridiculous that this was landed in December of 2018.
BK is not the average player.
No, I mean, he was like so dominant back when he was playing. And you've taken that down by 2 seconds since then. The fact that you got this under sub 9, that was so exciting for me as well. Even, I believe you're the first one to get it under sub 10 as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Sub 10? No, it was already sub 10.
Okay.
I think that was Spooky who did that.
Oh, that's so clean, dude. That's so clean. Such a good run. This one, not going to be really significantly different. I imagine it takes more time to get up to speed. So I wonder, off-kilter was probably more difficult back in the day. If you're just starting with less speed, then you're doing the trick with less speed. It must have been more difficult just even to land it.
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be able to say.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really landed it all that often. Because I didn't start seriously speedrunning the game until after the challenge update. But before the challenge update, nobody was really running RTA or anything.
All I know is the gravity makes that one really hard to work with because there's sort of an element of RNG in there almost, the way gravity works.
Yeah, and often when so the game is, as far as we know, the game is deterministic, but like it's also really chaotic, right? So
yeah,
you know, it's even if technically, you know, things go according to the way they go, it's like throwing a dart across a basketball court and getting a bullseye. It doesn't matter how skilled you are, you have to get lucky for it to work. And I feel like that goes for a lot of the tricks that get landed, especially in these individual level records, are like, okay, we get really, really skilled players. They need to be super skilled to even have a chance of it working, but the chances of it working are still like incredibly low, and they have to grind and make it work.
Yeah. I think we should go back and just appreciate how technically advanced this particular run is.
Okay,
like if we went back to the time travel grab near the start.
Okay, this specific run, not the Rampage one. Okay, let's look at
this one.
Let's look at the time travel grab at the start.
Spin optimization, whatnot.
Barely gonna grab this. Yeah, barely touching that hitbox, and then across. Like, that's pretty optimal. That's pretty well optimized for sure.
And the amount of speed here that you get, if you're watching that and wondering how you get that kind of speed, well, we talked about earlier, controller turning in the air.
Yeah, controller turning in the air.
On a spin. and when you touch the ground, it's all converted to motion. So
Yes. This one's going to be totally different for sure. Maybe nothing too exciting from the first Rampage on this. Again, like, it's hard to, it's easy to forget, like, this wasn't even really a planned Rampage when we did the first one. Like, we had maybe a couple of weeks notice that the game was going to be updated and that the start pad was going to be removed. So I don't want to say it was like thrown together haphazardly, but we definitely didn't give nearly as much preparation or time or thought or spreadsheets or anything that went into Rampage 2, which was just a huge collaborative community effort. And yeah, totally tubular. This is such a cool route as well.
this one's another one of those really annoyingly hard ones, though.
I mean, I've tasked this before. It's awful.
Just
I
look at
imagine
this
you've...
edge hit.
That shit is stupid.
You just have to hold forward and just expect that you're going to get the edge hit.
And making it all the way to the goal as well from that. You need a perfect bounce angle. That's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, time capsule. How did we used to do this? How was this one done? Booster. There's a name I haven't seen in a while.
It's like one edge hit here, and then you just finish out the route, sort of as if it was RTA.
No, because there's a gem at the beginning that he skipped, different from the RTA route.
Oh, right, you go back for that, though.
Which he already did, and then, yeah, he does the what we now would call the RTA finish here.
Oh, no, he got that gem.
That was a good jump. And then today, like, this one, it's crazy how optimized this one has been, since so much of it is under time travel anyways. And so you think, oh, there's not going to be a huge, like, number of seconds improved, you know? But even during the time travel, even during the time slow, they went to such lengths to cut off more of the time.
And I think Berserk even says there's still a couple seconds left in this one.
And now we're on to Coggers. Seamurder did a lot for this route. Again, I remember watching Seamurder streams, and he was grinding this a little bit. He did this route. This is such an interesting place to hit the cog. But that was just
really
considered optimal. Yeah, I think the reason that they started doing this was because they wanted to aim further to the right. And that was just the way of doing it. Now that we have analog turning, basically the idea now is, and we're going to see this in Hiren's run, he's going to start going way off further to the left, and then he's able to turn right because he has so much more control over the marble rotation. And he's able to turn in here and hit the center. And so low,
Yeah, that
like
run's
barely,
so crazy.
barely clearing this.
Yeah, if you run the level, you just know that run right there in particular was just so ahead of what we expected.
Yeah, I mean,
landed.
It's really iconic in RTA, and if you see like a 15-second Coggers in RTA, like that's not unusual. And this is 11 seconds.
Yeah,
So,
I'm just talking
cool.
on the scale of milliseconds, though, because that's what that level's down to. If you
Oh, yeah.
look at the top 5 board.
Absolutely.
It's very tight.
Yeah, we're looking... Yeah, another good thing to note, actually, now that you mention it, is we're looking at, you know, tenths and hundredths, but the game actually does track way, way, way below that. And some of these levels beat second place by 10,000ths
Millionths.
or, yeah, millionths. Some of these are so close that they'd be completely indistinguishable visually in terms of who finished first. But the game is able to track accurately, you know, how close you were to the goal on the frame before that you touched it. All right, how did Bumper Invasion look back then? I don't think there was any kind of skip involved.
Yeah, no, there wasn't. It was just fast.
Yeah, this is just what we would do now in RTA, except going out of his way to get the time travels as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean,
With a
it's
bumper hit.
fairly impressive, right? They've got some bounces back and forth and stuff, but this wasn't necessarily a highlight of Rampage 1. It was just like a solid run. And now we have Kugiland in this. And this just looks completely different from the intended path for this level.
Yeah, this one's a hard one to really get as smooth as Kuji has here. Good clearance. And then check all these edge hits after. You're not done.
Oh, yeah, and like, imagine taking these kinds
Crazy.
of risks after landing that 1 in 100 skip. Or worse. I don't know exactly what it would be, but I know for me it would be a lot worse than 1 in 100. Braid. Yeah, I mean, we talked about how the game had only been out for 5 or 6 months when this Rampage came out. Yeah, Chapter 4 had only been out for, like, even then, like, a month less. So these levels were relatively new compared to Chapters 1 to 3 and Chapter 5. So, that, like, I mean, that looks pretty good, right? He's using the time travel really well.
Right.
He had a good start, but not as direct of a line after picking up the time travel, which is why it took so much longer to finish compared to this.
I was gonna say something, but I'm just gonna let the rest of this run right here play itself out. This is a very hard run.
What is there to say? I mean, look at the edge hit on that rock.
Look at that rock edge hit. Wow.
Like, hitting the rock face is what we do in RTA, and then Boomer just goes for this edge right here. And has it's not okay, yeah. And that edge doesn't even slant up. He just has so much topspin from rolling and building that topspin throughout the level that the topspin of the marble bounces him upward into the goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. That's such a good run. Sunspire in Rampage 1, I can't imagine there's going to be much to see here, honestly.
Are you going to watch this?
We can skip through this a little bit. We're going to be waiting for this. Yeah, this is exactly what I expected it to be. This is worse than what we do in RTA right now.
Sort of takes the same direction.
They're really the few things that there were to find in Sunspire were pretty hard to find. There's not much to say about this level in terms of RTA or anything like that, but Cass's and some others have managed to pull off a really cool skip. It's going to involve a wall hit off of a moving platform, and this needs perfect timing. Like, he can't go too fast up to that point, so like that's really cool. Double bumper hit, and it's not over.
Yeah, this route is crazy.
Oh man, this ending is actually painful.
The clearance barely getting up there.
Barely.
Imagine the pressure that's on you getting that after doing an edge hit, a platform wall hit, 2 bumper hits, and buffering perfectly off of every platform.
Yeah, it's like there's 2 kinds of really difficult routes. One of them is like just something you grind and you have like a 1 in a million chance of landing it, and then you do. Eventually, if you do it long enough, then you land it. And the other one is like, oh yeah, there's that, but then you have to do it again.
I still don't know how this ending worked, but it's funny because it's in the second Rampage too.
Yeah.
Where you overshoot on accident.
Very different start. Getting that time travel. It's almost unbelievable that getting that time travel saves time. Like getting that time travel and then going back around. And he doesn't even keep time travel all the way to that other TT. It's just for a faster catch on the second TT. That's it.
And you paused at the perfect time there, just to show how optimized the movement is to get that time travel and quickly get to the other time travel to even save the time. You can see Boomer's marble is barely touching that corner there, going over.
Yes. I'm not going to pause it at the perfect time, but I can at least frame by frame this.
That's perfect. Yeah, look at that.
Look, yeah, look
Oh
how
my
much of
god.
that shadow is touching.
How do you control your spin that well? That's insane.
I don't know. And yeah, like you said, there is a lot of spin control going on here because if you have too much top spin going, like even he manages to start spinning back before landing on this quarter pipe, which is why he's able to smoothly land, and then not quite able to make it a true time travel combo. You can see it actually, the time restarts for a frame or two.
It's not a time locked level though.
Oh no, yeah,
That's
I know it's
not
not.
significant.
Yeah. And that bounce looking so clean as well. Yeah, I love watching these technical runs. Some of the runs are really, really flashy, and then the other ones are like, okay, this gets more impressive the longer you look at it and the better you understand what's actually going on. And I think that's a good example of that type of level. What do we have on Retrograde Rally? I think this is going to be pretty bog standard as far as like, yeah, there's going to be an edge hit at the start, but the ending is going to be fairly what we would just consider to be RTA these days. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Spekai landed a faster version of this in his Chapter 4 RTA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we see this in RTA, that landing on top of a wall and then goes in here. In complete contrast to the absolute insanity of what Chris does in this run. I love the fact as well that Chris was able to be in this rampage for this level because he discovered the trick that you're about to see. Not this one, but I believe that was discovered by Seb, also known as
Crazy clearance.
Pizza Guy. Crazy clearance. Yeah, like the execution is insane, but then the trick is insane. How does that work?
That's a super speed angle off the edge.
Yeah, like can you I barely understand this. I don't even understand this well enough to explain it. Can you tell me what is going on here?
So when you touch the surface here, specifically the edge, the way it's angled, if you use a super speed right after touching it, it'll just send you towards the goal. And this happened to just be a random find that Chris just decided he was going to do one day. And he did. And he put a lot of work into this, and it culminated into one of the craziest subs and runs in a Rampage.
Yeah, so I think he's getting most of this sideways speed just from the bounce, and then the super speed is what giving him the height. At least that's my kind of rudimentary
You do get some height off of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Ideally, you just want a straight shot to the goal, but that's about as good as it gets right there.
Yeah, there's going to be some trajectory no matter what you do at that distance. Who got this? This was Spekai as well.
Oh, different route.
Yeah, it's going to be different. This is looking like what a lot of us do in Nope, never mind. Doesn't look like what I do in RTA.
Fancy.
I don't even remember this route. I mean, I'm sure I've seen it before because I've seen this video, but... also, shout out, again, I think I already did, but Nagas for putting this video together, despite the time constraints and the fact that it was all kind of not planned super far ahead of time. But yeah, here's Boomer's version, and already we're seeing some differences with not only the routing, but spending more time on the ground and taking advantage of those opportunities to analog turn.
Another pretty technically advanced level. You don't really see any huge skips, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I could watch that back dozens of times and still not fully pick up on how good it is.
Speaking of levels with a lot going on.
What does this even look like in Rampage 1? Oh, this is nothing like what we see later. Honestly, okay, I'm not even...
on that thin beam.
Honestly, I'm not even 100% sure that going for this time travel on the left is worth it. I don't think it is. I honestly think it might be faster to do the RTA start we do now, or at least the fastest version of it.
I feel like you get close to a second off of that, but it's definitely like... I can see why it would raise concern.
Yeah, and if you've played this game before but you haven't seen Rampage 2 or the most recent version, then you might be wondering why we're confused about this run. But it's because the IL record route now does it in completely the opposite direction, and that's what we're gonna see now. I believe this was held by Spakai before Kugi landed it, and oh, it's so cool. That start is so precise. That is so hard. Have you ever tried this route?
I've done a similar route, but I did basically the same thing, just without that start.
Okay.
And it gets very hard later into the level. There's a lot of stuff you can mess up on if you're not in your game.
Yeah.
Bumper hits relatively easy, but this right here, jumping onto that from there, I don't know how you do it. I don't think even I did that.
Yeah, another good example of like what we were talking about with Sunspire, of like some levels are just like you're landing trick after trick after trick, and that's where the difficulty comes from. Not that any one of them is as hard as some of the crazy ones we see in other places, but it's crazy to have enough consistency to land them back to back to back to back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's going to be any significant difference in this one at all. Oh, okay. Yeah, never mind. I was totally wrong. This is before the basher hit even.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was one of the bigger finds.
Yeah. Do you remember who found this?
That would have been C-Murder.
Okay.
Yeah, before this level was really controller dependent, and a lot of people just didn't even bother running it, I think. But
now it just straight
it
up
still is
doesn't
a little
matter.
now, but
yeah, I mean,
but it's not as
your spin kind of matters coming off the basher, but if you can land this route with a keyboard and mouse with no problem.
It's crazy. We gotta watch that one more time.
Absolutely.
It's so clean. As hard as the skip is, the times are surprisingly close together too. Like there's a lot of people trying that skip to be the fastest one to do it.
Yeah, it's a frame war, which is stupid because it's like such a difficult trick, but it ends up being a frame war.
Oh, where's C-Murder going?
Yeah, way off to the left. Yeah, this is just the way that the bounce spacing worked out back when the start pad was in play, I guess. Still manages to get the 2 time travels and gets into the end. I don't think we do anything quite that fancy here in Rampage 2, but just more of a little bit more of a straight line.
Yeah, the Rampage 2 route here was actually a route I think C-Murder literally found right after the Rampage was created. Like, I think the same day or something, he said.
Yeah, it just
ends up still here today.
Ends up being a more direct path.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, the biggest difference is going to be the jump spacing off the start. Like, if you're able to get to that time travel before it moves a little bit further to the left, then you're able to curve back onto the main path more easily, and it just kind of emergent from the changes in the mechanics there, which is why we get the different route. But I don't think this could have been done quite as quickly under start pad rules. Diamond in the Sky, or Diamonds in the Sky. It's listed here as Diamonds in the Sky. I'm pretty sure Diamond in the Sky is the official name.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be basically what we do in RTA now. And you've done this, you've done a fair amount of RTA now, in addition to your ILs. This is pretty consistent.
No edge hits?
Nope, not doing any edge hits. Okay, doing something a little different here.
One edge hit. Yeah.
Okay, so I can see how that's a little bit faster than what we do RTA. That's, but not by much. This is still going to be a 38 or a 39. Yeah.
A sub 39, yeah.
Barely sub 39. And then I don't even know what's going on here. This is insane.
Let's add some more edge hits.
You can do the play-by-play here for us.
Right, so we've got a setup here. I think this is either found by the mop or C-Murder, where we do a little bit of a different launch and get an edge hit on our landing there, correctional edge hit. And then we're already setting up for another one. They're just coming and going. So here's the same edge hit from before. And it's not done.
Yeah.
Look at this one. Look how low that is. And that third one was what actually tweaked the level to get us to sub 37 on it, which is super cool. Have another sub.
On a level that is speed capped the entire time. More than 2 seconds saved. Unreal.
Right. I think Katz was bringing up that the new Ex Machina was from T10 Dimensional.
Ah.
Now I'm remembering. I'm gonna just put this out there. It may be forgotten for a while, but I feel like Ex Machina is gonna be one of the hardest ones to improve. That run is pretty close to perfection. It may not seem like it. Definitely doesn't look like it, but
Yeah.
put that out there.
I hope they all get improved someday, but some of them are going to be a lot harder than others.
As do I, yeah.
All right, so we're seeing a cradle hit for the start here. And then, yeah, just some turning. I mean, it's not like skips weren't known about on this level at the time when this came out, but they can be really, really hard.
I believe Switch actually had the record on this at the time, which is one of the levels where Switch was forgotten. Switch had a 22.9. I think doing the same thing. But...
Oh, yeah, I didn't really know about the specifics of that, but it makes sense just because, you know, this Rampage was recorded only the PC records at the time. And then here,
yeah, and the run.
Okay. So this edge hit is one thing. This edge hit is one thing. This is a cool trick, right? But it's been landed before by a lot of people. What happens next doesn't make sense.
The edge surf.
Basically an edge surf. He rolls along the edge and then jumps off of it to get the world record. I'm so glad that nobody beat that before the Rampage, because that was so funny. That was so
it's
funny.
Not particularly the fastest like execution of that route.
Oh no, it could go lower.
But the fact that those edge hits that showed up in that run were all just in one run, it's just crazy to see.
It's so silly.
The edge surf and everything, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. What's this route here?
I think it's the old IL.
Yeah, I think I've seen people doing this one in RTA runs, at least up to this point. Oh yeah, we see
sort of botch this part.
We see a decent number of people doing this in RTA, except for the ending.
Yeah, that ending could be difficult.
And then, yeah, just the comparison. Kuyi managed to come back and beat Spikai's run. Man, Spikai's run, I was personally not able to beat it with TAS. Honestly, I tried just within a couple months before this video came out, and I couldn't figure it out. And then Kugi just came by and just like, oh yeah, I know how to analog turn like a god. And then he did.
I don't know how he does it. Some of this level is really controller dependent, especially this part right here. I feel like, I think Katz found this route. This is a crazy find. Like, imagine tassing this and not knowing it's possible, and then landing it.
I don't know. I don't know. There's too much going on. There's too many different permutations of how you can approach this level, because it has 9 gems, and it's not an obvious of which direction or which order they should be picked up in.
So, for all we know, maybe it's not even solved.
I don't know if, yeah, I mean, how could anybody say that this is solved when there are so many different possibilities? It might be. We might never find something better, but you can't say with any confidence that there isn't a faster route out there. We just don't know. And that brings us to Staying Alive. Skip past the start here a little bit. There's not much to see in the first several seconds. Yeah, Cobalt landing this in the first Rampage. This was one of the biggest highlights of that Rampage. And playing stock KBM. This was kind of back before analog turning was really known. And yeah, I'll go back here. Not able to build a whole lot of speed on this thing here doing stock KBM. I think you could go a little bit faster potentially, but that is as much as Cobalt could possibly build. And he gets a super, super clean finish for it, which ends up being a really good time at 22.35 seconds. However, this is a whole different beast.
What if we could skip more of the level?
What if we could just skip almost all of the level? And yes, we can skip all of the level with TAS. At least with the methods we know, that's never going to happen for real. But look at this. Basically starting the skip starting at the first island. And look how much speed Boomer is able to build here on this curve compared to what Cobalt was doing. This is the power of analog turning right here.
Wow.
Boom.
I don't even have words. It's just, you're just getting a wow.
Cobalt got what?
An amazing run.
A 23 something? 22 something? And now we're at 12 something. That's all you need to know. Like, maybe the best run in Rampage 1, and 10 seconds gone. Just
if you see
so
the basher timing, when you get on that beam, you can actually see that there's not really much time to take off of this. This is a really good landing of it.
Yeah, like
if barely pull past the basher.
If Boomer goes any faster, he can't get by here, right? So even if you think, oh, maybe he could have gone a little bit faster on the start, no, he couldn't. It all comes down to the finish. If you can get the start is insanely hard, but if you can get it, the finish is everything. And Hatchet had gotten the start once for a while. His record stood for a long time, but his ending was not nearly this good. And Umbra was able to beat that, and then Boomer came along and just showed everyone how it was done with a crazy good finish. Gordian, I'm not sure we're going to see all that much here. This looks good, and it was good for the time, but, I mean, we're not really taking advantage of analog turning here, so it's relatively slow by modern standards. But just because those mechanics weren't understood at the time.
Yeah, this level gets very advanced in the second Rampage. There's nothing different about the route, but just like look at how he keeps his speed and his turning and stuff. It's just so clean. There's a reason this wasn't ever beaten.
Literally doing the same thing, but 3.7 seconds faster. That might be the biggest improvement without a route difference, or close to it.
3.7? Seems like it would be closer to 5.
It's 3.7 according to the video. Yeah.
Oh, well then I made a typo.
Is it? Hold on.
There's the typo. I was wondering where the typo was going to be. If that was the typo.
Okay. Well, we can have a look at the final times, but yeah, this is going to come in at what? 16.8 versus yeah, it's
4 point something.
It's almost 5 seconds. Yeah, you're right. All right. Okay, so this is a really interesting level in terms of the history, but Crystalline Matrix, there was a skip found here and landed by DK Man, which was really, really cool, and it basically skips the entire level. But he does it off of the gap right before the first time travel. And it ended up getting beaten before the Rampage by Space Kitty, just like by Spakai, just doing this route, which is like basically what we do in RTA, except picking up time travels along the way, and able to maintain time travel all the way to the goal, or just about all the way to the goal at least. And that ended up being the fastest time in the Rampage. And I remember I was like fairly disappointed that the skip route that basically finished the level in, whatever it was, like less than 7 seconds as well, ended up getting beaten. Fortunately, we have this.
Just look at that time before you even see the run. It's going to be great. Oh, man.
So clean. Yeah, like you see this time at the beginning, like Crystalline Matrix 3.3 seconds. But it's because he gets the time travel and does the skip. And I'm not sure if that skip, or if that version of the skip would even have been possible with start pad or not, but we can't really
I think it's more just being the first to land it and not having a ghost can be really difficult.
Yeah.
But landing it with a ghost and being able to race like a past version of someone doing the skip makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
Because someone like Boomer can just repeatedly do it until they get a super optimized version of it.
Whoa, wait, this was in oh, yeah, okay, I knew this. I knew this was in Rampage 1. I just forgot. Very fun route. So cool though. And you'll notice that Space Kitty uses the start pad here as part of the setup for this trick, which meant that this was actually a lot easier back when Rampage 1 was a thing. And that's really
curious
important.
how that works. Like, what are we looking at for the hitbox of the start pad? Is it really how it looks, or
It's pretty much
there...
exactly how it looks, yeah. It's and basically the idea is that he's able to jump on the ground and then jump on the like jump on the ground on one frame and then jump off the slant of the start pad on the next frame and just combine that together in order to get a bunch of extra height. And yeah, bouncing off here. Technically, the start pad made this easier, and for a long time we didn't think it could be beaten after the challenge update, which was all part of the somewhat controversial history of the challenge update. However, the nice thing about the start boost here, even though it doesn't actually speed up the run in real time, it does let M2K get this time travel a lot quicker. And that's how we were able to eventually beat it, even though the ending ends up being marginally slower.
I don't think so. It looks slightly like the same.
It's pretty similar, yeah. But it could go faster with the start pad on the ending. And yeah, it took a long time before anyone was able to land this after the challenge update. And, you know, I'm glad that it did get beaten. And people were talking about the leaderboards getting wiped for a while because it wasn't beatable. But I'm glad it was beatable. Uphill both ways. Already, yeah, this is going to be different. This looks like what we might see in like in a Hatchet RTA or something like that. And who knew after, 4.5 years we would have new discoveries and, faster strategies than what we had after 6 months.
I think there's a bit of a route deviation too.
Yeah, there is.
Different
totally.
gem order.
Yeah, so the second gem that was collected there, Berserk's just going to skip it. And this start is so toxic.
Oh, man.
Just try tassing this. Like, if you play the game at all and you have rewind enabled, just try doing this with rewind, and you'll understand how hard it is.
I've heard great things about this level from Berserk.
Oh my gosh, it is so difficult. So difficult. I'm glad that I'm not an individual level runner and I don't have to deal with this stuff. But yeah, he's going to go back after collecting this time travel and do a wall hit to just kind of barely get the hitbox of that gem upside down. So, that's the gem that he skipped at the beginning. And there we go for a pretty big improvement.
Clean run.
Yeah, absolutely. Up both ways was Cobalt we hear, who discovered that start. Flip the table, I think... Oh gosh, what was this like in the old run?
I think the same gem order, just a bit slower.
Okay. That's, I remember this. Yeah, turning around to get that bumper hit. This was like kind of revolutionary when this was first landed. Of doing this. And now we do something similar, but just definitely a faster variation though. Let's see that comparison. 2.8 seconds faster. Okay, so you know this route a lot better than I do then. This was you.
Mm-hmm.
So what's different
There's
here?
been a number of small tweaks to make this quicker and smoother.
Yeah.
The first section, I think, gets to the flip a lot sooner, so you can build up a bit more spin.
Are you getting there a full cycle ahead?
No, this
No
is
way.
the same cycle.
Okay, you're the same cycle. So it's the ending that's faster.
Yeah, and so you wait here for the right time, jump on this, grab the time travel, and then you do a little natural bounce into the bumper, and it's just the smoothest possible bumper hit you can get in TAS.
Yeah.
Just at the end of this amazing time travel grab run.
Yeah, I remember I've tasked this before, and I knew it was a lot faster, but I didn't think it was 2.6 seconds faster, or whatever that ended up being. and that was like after the cycle change was all of that time save. So cool. Vertigo by Spakai. This one is going to look fairly cool and fairly like quick until you see like until after you've seen what happens now in the record. Like if you're playing this, if you played this casually and you see this run, you're like, this is mind-blowingly fast.
It gets better.
It gets better. That's a 4.8 second. That was unbelievable when we saw that 4.8 seconds. And now we have this.
Berserk just absolutely dominated this run. This is amazing to watch.
Oh my gosh, dude.
2 seconds.
And the ending. What is this ending?
Those are 2 consecutive edge hits on very small edges.
Yeah. So he does it, and he does it twice, right? He does like double edge hit here and double edge hit here.
And both of those, you're jumping off the face of the edge facing away from you and jumping on the ground in front of it. So it is very precise. There's not a lot of room for that.
Yeah, that is so cool. And taking that under 3 seconds was a huge milestone for this level. And we're getting pretty close to the end of these comparisons. I mean, we'll keep going with chapter 6 as well after we finish chapter 5, but I think as far as the routing goes, this is going to be the same thing. Yep. Dropping down here.
I think this is a relatively new route when it was in Rampage 1.
Yeah.
So full 2 seconds, I think.
Yeah, it was a fairly it was fairly good. I mean, considering we still use the same route nowadays, that should tell you all of that already. And now we look at the current one. It's not cycle dependent, or it's a little more, it sort of is. Anyway, we're not waiting for anything. That's what's important here. And you'll notice that Boomer is spending so much time on the ground. This is something you would never see in a run in Rampage 1, is all of this time spent on the ground, and it's because he's analog turning throughout the entire level. And so, yeah.
And more spin build up in the air.
Yeah, even analog turning in midair just to build up speed. And this ends up being 1.9 seconds faster doing the same route, and it's entirely because of this analog turns. What an interesting way of approaching that route. Okay.
Very iconic Rampage 1 run here.
Pit of Despair. Yeah, this was the finale of Rampage 1, and this blew people's minds. And I mean, it still kind of blows my mind, to be fair, despite the fact that we do have faster methods now. But look at how many edge hits. Bam, 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 bam. Like back to back to back to back. And
Only see murder.
And that skip saves so much time, right? Only see murder. And then this goal as well. Spakai also actually managed to land that particular route later on after the Rampage. But yeah, that was the end of Rampage 1. And what happened after that was actually like closely tied to the discovery of analog turning and Woody in particular finding a route. Let me open up my game again here, and we'll show you basically what that ended up looking like, and spoilers for the leaderboard currently. But what Woody landed was ended up being basically what Snowboarder does here. Although, of course, Snowboarder did a little bit faster with a basher hit at the end. So this was the route that came after what we saw in Rampage 1. And something you might also see in the very highest level of RTA. And then a basher hit here to the goal.
Super flashy.
You've landed this enough times before to tell me how difficult it is. What's going on here?
So, like you've alluded to a lot, you're kind of sticking to the ground and maximizing controller turning to build up like a ton of analog speed. Yep. Otherwise, the skip wouldn't be possible. You're jumping up, jumping on an edge, and jumping to the corner of the basher.
Yeah.
And if you buffer off the basher, which means you delay your jump a little to actually jump in the air, you can barely get enough height to actually make it up there. It skips up a huge portion of the level.
Yeah, and you can even see here that the visual model and the hitbox are not even entirely the same. If you see the shadow of the marble here on the hitbox, then you can see what it's actually like. And you have to hit this edge. It is so precise. Getting up here. This was really, really cool. And, it was never actually featured in a Rampage, but this route stood dominant for a long time. Nobody was able to find anything faster for a long time. Kriz was able to find some cool stuff. Berserk was able to find some cool stuff. But eventually, what ended up happening was this run right here. Mazik was the first one to land this, and there was a bit of a back and forth between Mazik and M2K. But Mazik had the record at the time of the Rampage, and look at this. I love this so much.
That's absurd.
Oh, this is one of my favorites.
You really just got to take a look at this level, just at the entire level, and then just imagine that it's solved just like that. It's crazy.
It's such a big level, and like after everything we just saw C Murder do, this is harder. Like even this start here, like you've mastered it, so you can do it, multiple times in the course of a few minutes, but it's not easy to land that,
Yeah, the start's not exactly the hard part of this route.
Yeah, and then this
basher, there's a lot of variables playing in that.
We're calling this a basher rebound, basically, and get the music back here. 2 basher hits, like a basher edge hit and then a basher vertex hit, I believe, is kind of what we're looking at here.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's more a wall hit than an edge hit. No, actually, that's an edge hit.
Yeah.
Look at his spin, yeah.
Yeah, and then this vertex hit, you can see the shadow of the marble on the actual hitbox of the basher. Anyways, we'll move on, but I really love this. I was able to discover this close to a month before the Rampage came out, and then Mazik landed it back and forth with M2K. We could see there after I closed this tab that it was actually M2K who beat Mazik, but that was after the fact, after the Rampage deadline. I'm personally glad that Mazik was able to hold it at the time of the Rampage, just because, being the first one to land that and make it happen, that was really special.
Very big.
That's it for the comparisons, but I think we should definitely keep going with our Rampage 2 and see what's going on here with Chapter 6.
I think this is better viewed though with actually experiencing the audio, so definitely check this out if you haven't already.
Absolutely, yes. Make sure you are watching that official video. It is super cool. Let's go ahead and watch. Yeah, so starting off, we got that pillar hit, and waiting a little bit for the timing on the spinner. This hit is really, really fun. Have you ever attempted this?
Yeah, I've just attempted it to land it, and that's hard enough. There's a lot of rough parts of this particular run. And the most annoying part of it happens to be at the end, which is it's a real turnoff to people who want to run this level, because you could run a perfectly fine level, get that edge hit that you'll probably get once every 10 minutes at most.
Yep.
Do this loop skip perfectly, barely make it over the gem.
And then hitting this gravity surface, but
it's a little RNG.
Yeah, you want to hit the edge in a certain way that we don't really totally understand, that causes it to not count as a gravity surface.
And go back again really quick. There's also the part where you're jumping into the bumper before the goal.
Yeah.
The game, when you jump here, you don't have a lot of room. You just gotta jump when you land. The game, a lot of the time, thinks you're trying to buffer, and you'll sail right over the bumper.
Right.
Randomly. And
yeah,
that's the worst thing after doing everything else perfectly.
Yeah, you can see Berserk has the absolute maximum amount of speed that he could have had, because if he was going any faster, then he would have overshot this platform, and it would have had a forward jump, like you were saying. that would have ruined the run. So
Very,
uh,
very proud of where he took this run. This is a very
absolutely
painful one.
another fairly late discovery. Maybe 2 months before the Rampage. Uh, this is Kugi, and I don't think he made a whole lot of changes in routing compared to any previous runners or records, but it's another one where just like mastery of control and analog turning and just the patterns of everything. There's so much that goes on to this. This is a bit of a marathon. This is almost more like an RTA than what you would what kind of gameplay you would have if you were trying to run ILs in shorter frame war levels.
Easily one of the most technical ones. Look at that skip right there.
Yeah,
The super speed. That one's a hard one.
it just doesn't stop. It doesn't slow down.
And the ending might be surprising. It's actually not as hard as it looks to pull off this ending, but it's still super flashy.
Yeah, it's not
Just jump in a certain spot.
it's not really an edge hit. It's kind of like it's just hitting this face, I believe, right? But it looks super cool. What do we got next? Radius. This one's still held by Spikai. Spikai hasn't been playing the game for a while, but he still has a few surviving records. At one point, he held over half of the records in the game, which was a huge accomplishment at the time. But we've had some...
Speed is insane.
Yeah. Just clearing these gaps without even bothering with a super jump. Super, super cool. Yeah, I could watch that 100 times and still be entertained. And I have. I'm sure I have.
This one's a bit of an interesting one.
Yeah, so this is your record. Why don't you tell us what you're doing here?
So what you just saw was a very complicated skip just to skip the first cycle, because the old record run used to wait there until like 9 seconds and then start moving.
Yep.
You can actually run into that edge, land on that tiny little beam while building up spin, and just jump over that part.
And it saves
But
so
the
little
level's not
time.
done there.
That saves so little time, but it's worth going for because of
It's
just
over a second, and then you do
Yeah,
a little
but-
wall hit there.
It saves over a second because you get a faster cycle, basically. Yeah.
And then you still have to nail an edge hit and a moving wall hit afterwards.
Yeah. But way, way more technical than what you would do if you weren't doing that at all.
Yeah.
So Triple Force, I don't know a whole lot about the history of this level in terms of the IL records. I believe Woody maybe had something to do with this route.
Oh yeah, he's all over this route. Him and Death Pony, I believe. Death Pony
That doesn't surprise
originally
me.
found. Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have too much to say. I mean, it's a very clean run. Escalation, of course. Umbra Sunset's signature level.
Is this technically the biggest skip in the game?
By far, it is. In terms of the amount of time it saves, this is the biggest skip in the game. In terms of distance, I mean, like Stratosphere is going to be a bigger skip. Like it skips more of the level, but yeah, in terms of how much time it saves, that is by far the biggest skip in the game.
Yeah, very iconic one too.
Yeah, Spikai was the first one to take that under 20 seconds, and then Umbra was able to take it back. But this run by Kugi on Confluence is super, super clean as well. And I don't really know how this route was ever found. Like, we were talking about Arky and how, like, it's so complicated. How could you ever know that it's solved kind of thing? This is like that, but, like, to the factor of 10.
I believe it was Death Pony who was fascinated by this route, and it ended up getting tweaked by Cobalt and then Spooky to find the route that we have today.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, again, so many possibilities. There's only 6 gems, but there's 4 different levels of gravity that you could take at any time if you're playing them. Yeah, I don't know. We've seen this. We've seen the whole thing already, but the execution, I think, is the main thing you should take away from this. Like how clean it is. This edge hit on the very edge of that basher is it makes me nervous just looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, those dissectors can just not play nice sometimes.
And if there is RNG in this game, which we don't know, but if there is, like, that's probably it. Whether or not you get crushed by those destructors. Olympus, I don't think we need to watch all of this. It's very clean, but it's basically big easy. In terms of, hit speed cap and then maintain your, like, a low trajectory and a relatively straight line through the level. There is a really cool rock skip coming up.
But yeah, interesting one right here.
Yeah.
That's so clean.
Yeah, it's crazy that he goes through this whole section with the 2 gaps and maintains, like, such a straight and level trajectory all the way through it. And that's the reason for the rock skip there. Like, you can easily avoid that, but then you'd just be going around, and I guess that's slower because, you're speed capped anyways. You've got to take the shortest possible path through the level. Which isn't always the case, right? I mean, like, even we saw in Learning to Roll, you don't take the shortest path through Learning to Roll. You take the path that lets you build as much speed as you can, and then you take the shortest path to the goal hitbox. But here, because
this is a good example.
Because it's speed capped, the shortest path is the fastest path, no matter what, as long as you can maintain your speed cap. But yeah, that's pretty much what we see here, and yeah, as you'd expect in a world record run, he's not going to lose any speed or make any mistakes throughout Olympus. But yeah, really, really cool run by Boomer. Don't think that one's ever going to go much below 201. Tangle, love this route. So cool. Tangle is my favorite level for routing. There's just so many possibilities, but
a lot of stuff going on in this one.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. So it is a catch level, first of all, grabbing this time travel. And then we'll see here, Berserk's going to grab this super jump, use it immediately, or almost immediately, to get up while grabbing another super jump on the way. And there it is. Yeah, and watching that in real time, it's like really, really fast. A lot of things happening at once. But that's how he gets up to the top gem and then just finishes without changing gravity.
Yeah, and you never really get a chance to see this level for what it is when you just watch in a Rampage.
Yeah.
Because of how short this is and how little the level's actually used. If you kind of zoom out, it's really just an amalgamation of just beams and edges everywhere. It's really crazy to see a level like this just gone in 3 seconds.
Yeah, and with multiple, like, different versions of gravity and stuff, yeah, you don't get to see much of this level in the Rampage, but if you watch, we did like a Tangle routing challenge where we tried to do this without any super jumps, and it just kind of shows you how many possibilities this has in terms of routing. But yeah, this route has been pretty much known since the level was first released. But Cobalt taking that and making it viable for humans to pull it off is very, very cool. And we're on the finale stratosphere. This is kind of Hatchet's signature world record. He's held the world record for this level almost consistently, almost the entire time since it's come out. Katz has beat it at one point, was the first to land this trick he's about to do. And then Hatchet came back and found a new way to do it. And, oh, that's so cool. I love this edge hit.
Full speed roll off.
I love this edge hit. This is so hard.
It can be very difficult to gauge.
Yeah.
Like how you have to move in the air when you roll off and whatnot to get that. But
yeah, like he's making adjustments in the air, but you got so much speed that the amount of adjustments you can make are very minor. You can't really make big corrections when you're moving at that speed.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter who you are. You're not going to get that very often. So when you do get it in your grind, the adrenaline kind of kicks in, and the whole rest of the run, that's only a minute or half a minute in.
Yeah.
And there's still a minute of the level left.
And
you got to keep it together.
Yeah, you still have to get the ending and do it fast. And this skip here at the end, not quite that difficult, except for the fact that the crystal gets in your way, so you have to do 2 super jumps, 2 super speeds. And then a very, very low jump over this bowl.
Looks like there's some room for clearance, but yeah,
there's some
they get a
room.
run all around.
There's some room, but I don't know, man. It's so hard to get that start, or not the start, but to get that edge hit, that it's gonna be really difficult for anyone to beat this. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and that we'll kind of watch a little bit of this outro here while we outro ourselves. But that's World Record Rampage 2 in comparison with Record Rampage 1. And another great example of your fantastic editing, N2K. This is just like such a great highlight reel. You could release this as its own video.
Sort of goes over all the improvements. So they were already in the video, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's just to really capture it all in one cinematic there. And it was kind of fast, so it kind of got skipped over, but there's the Chapter 5 improvement that we can see. I think that's worth going back and checking.
Yeah.
Where we were comparing these runs. These are the total times from the Rampage 1 and this Rampage, and you can see 2 minutes and 8 seconds of improvement. Drastic.
It's amazing to me that community was able to beat this by 208. You've contributed quite a lot to that yourself, as well as, you know, contributing just by editing the video and putting it all together and getting the runners together and making this happen. So, thank you, M2K, for doing all that.
Yeah. Wanted it to be something great we can look back on time and time again.
I'm going to be watching this years from now. I'll tell you that much.
It's just such a cool show put on by the community, and it was a blast to put it all together and make it how I envisioned it to be, with this sort of, you know, runner introduction and really cinematic feel while keeping the old feel of Rampage 1 that we all love. And I think it turned out great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so thanks to the community, thanks to the developers for hosting this on the channel, and just making this as special as it could be.